539 for Bashana Haba'ah. I will see you next year. 652. The other 539. 652. They're crunched together on one line. On the bottom end of the page, Bashana Haba'ah, and your translation is over on the opposing page, 653, the English translation up on the top. Bashana Haba'ah, Nen Sheva Mifeset V'Nispo, Tziporim Nodedot, Yelatim Lechuvsha, Yisachakut Ofreset Bin Abayim Levin Hasadot, O Tireh Kama Tov Yeh, Bashana Haba'ah. Bashana Haba'ah is on page 652 also. Yeah, but it doesn't have all the pages. It doesn't have all the verses. And we're going to do the fourth verse. So let me just finish this song for okay. Everyone on the same page. 652. We're warming up. We're warming up. Back to O.T. Ray. O.T. Ray, O.T. Ray, come on, Bashana, Bashana, Haba'ah. Bashana Haba'ah, nifroz kavot yadayim mul hamor, benikar halava, anafa levana, tifroz beor kenafayim v'chashem tirach betorai, o tireh kama tov yeh, Bashana Haba'ah. Time, everybody.
So Cantor, you know my favorite part of that song? Well, I love the whole song, but there's a word in there that says no to dote, right?
Yes, they do.
In camp, we always said, yes, they do. Yeah, it's funny. There's another word that we do in Mariv Aravim, where it says Yomam V'Laila. And I remember years ago, one of my B'nai Mitzvah students in Bordentown, New Jersey, started laughing hysterically when they heard Yomam. I said, there's Yomam. And lo and behold, no one noticed that for years. And suddenly Noam was learning it with his tutor, Orna McNamara, and he burst out in hysterics. He said, Abba, it says yo mom in there.
Like
all these years later, I mean, it's crazy.
Is it just like yo mom? Like
yo mom, yeah.
Mom? I like no, they don't, yes, they do better.
Let's take a nice deep breath of Shabbat air. It's so wonderful to come in. I know it's raining. How refreshing, though. What beautiful weather we had. Did anyone see the cherry blossoms this week?
I'm supposed to go tomorrow morning. 1 o'clock tomorrow I'm going.
Is there a tour, Ruth?
Yeah, there is.
Mm-hmm. It's so wonderful. I feel like they're so surprising. I had a cherry blossom tree on my street growing up, and I always loved looking at it. And this year I felt like I'd be driving along. Actually, I was at Forest Lawn Cemetery this week. And in the Jewish section there, they had the most beautiful cherry blossoms. I thought, wow. Forest Lawn is a beautiful cemetery to begin with. But with these cherry blossoms, it's like nothing else. I'm going to invite Bruce Chorus over here to officially welcome. We do have a confirmation class, and that's from West Falls. That's Pastor Chad over there.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome home. We like to say, and he did it again. When we learned a couple weeks ago, we talked about this, that when you just say welcome, it implies that you're not part of this. And everyone here is a part of this, whether you're visitors this evening or members of our congregation. This is a welcome place, and we are here to be together and to, whether we need comfort, whether we need joy, whatever we're here for, this is that type of a place. And this is our, we talked about that this is our spiritual home, and this room would be our living room. This is where the family gathers, other than the kitchen, of course. So anyway, so welcome and welcome home. Every once in a while, I like to just give you a quick reminder of the surroundings. And since we have some visitors tonight, just a quick reminder that, like you say on the airplane, know where the emergency exits are, and the nearest emergency exit may be behind you. But I feel like an air traffic controller now. We have the one over there, and we have the main door to the sanctuary over there, and we have a door up there behind where the band sits, up there in the corner. So, just be aware of the surroundings. And as far as the visitors go, restrooms are down the hall. And if you need anything during the service, leave the cantor and the rabbi alone. They'll be busy. But I'm sitting over there on that side, so we're always here to answer questions or if anything pops up. So again, Shabbat Shalom, welcome home. Rabbi alluded to the rain. Cantor called me today. She said, "What do you think? Can we do a soggy Shabbat?" And I said, No, we're going to wait. She's just so eager to be outside. Anyway, Shabbat Shalom. I'll be back later with announcements. Lots of stuff coming up. We're a very busy place, which is good.
And just a note for our group from West Falls, our book, our Siddur, our prayer book opens the other direction, so don't get confused there. That's Hebrew goes right to left, English left to right. I'd like to read a poem by Yehuda Amichai. He is my favorite poet, and he was really for years the poet laureate of Israel. And his poetry is so ingrained in Israel, it's used in the majority of the services and ceremonies that they have in Israel, almost as if it was religious writing. He died in the 90s. This is one I just picked up. It's called You Too Got Tired. It seemed like a perfect one to introduce Shabbat. You too got tired of being an advertisement for our world so that angels could see. Yes, it's pretty, Earth. Relax. Take a rest from smiling, and without complaint, allow the sea breeze to lift the corners of your mouth. You won't object, your eyes too, like flying paper, are flying. The fruit has fallen from the sycamore tree. How do you say to love in the dialect of water? In the language of earth, what part of speech are we? Here is the street. What sense does it finally make? Any mound, a last wind? What prophet would sing? And at night, from out of my sleep, you begin to talk. And how shall I answer you? And what shall I bring? We invite that spirit of relaxation with Shalom Aleichem, which is on page 142. We're inviting the angels of Shabbat in to comfort us before Shabbat and during Shabbat.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashabbat, Malachei Elyon, Yimelech, Malachei Amalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon. Mimelech malachei amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedek el-shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon. Mimelech malachei amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Come, angels of shalom, of Shabbat, bring us peace over the course of this Shabbat. We're going to light our candles, symbolically beginning Shabbat. I'd like to invite up two of our minion makers for Shabbat morning, Jill Hamilton and Andrea Mason, to light our candles. The blessing is on page 120.
I'm glad I have a partner because I'm really bad at lighting matches. So can I have you do that, please? Sure. I keep meaning to donate. I have this neat laser candle lighter thing.
Wow, a laser candle. What do they think of? That
Yeah.
sounds pretty cool.
Don't let Walter see that.
He probably has one. Would you like to lead?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
May our candles light our way through Shabbat. I'm going to invite Jill, do you want to lift up our Kiddush cup? And we'll have Cantor lead the blessing, page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah v'mikra'ei kodesh zecher tzitzion mi'Yisrael ki elanu kata ve'otanu kidashta mi'avadati l'shabbat kodshecha ve'ava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. Last week we had a bar mitzvah, Ben Lieberman, and for the first time in a while we had the child drink from the cup, and he made the appropriate. So it wasn't too bad, right, Jill?
No, that's okay. Standard Shabbat wine.
We're going to now welcome in Shabbat. Shabbat is actually right there in the back of the room. Sheila can probably see Shabbat. Is Shabbat out there? We are going to welcome Shabbat in with L'chad Odi on page 138. We'll sing the first and the last verses. And on the last verse, number 9, we're going to rise. We're going to face where Sheila is. You can't really see the door from my angle. We're going to imagine Shabbat entering into the room. Sheila's actually going to open the door for Shabbat. And then we're going to bow and then welcome one another into the room with our waves.
One more time, everyone. So I did that melody tonight because that is directly from Jerusalem.
Oh, how do you like that? I was thinking, just so you know, what we just participated in is that the Kabbalists, these mystics from the 15th century, they were antsy. They wanted to get to Shabbat, and you can't start Shabbat till it's fully dark outside. But what they decided to do is they would stand around and they would wait for Shabbat, and they created this ritual, l'chadodi. They would actually go out into the fields, maybe even dressing as brides. I've seen that done. And they would like kind of bring Shabbat to them as if Shabbat was arriving, kind of. They were so excited to get there. So that's exactly where this piece comes from. The melodies are from all over, but that's where the ritual, the words, comes from. Let's take a look around. We're going to turn to our call of community on page 146. Each time we come into our congregation, whenever it is, it's a different group of people. So just take a look around. This is a precious Kehillah Kadosha tonight, and how wonderful, how blessed we are to be together with just this combination of people. Page 146.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai
HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Let's read from the bottom of 147 together in English. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthest most star. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. Oh, let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. And we turn to the words of the Shema, 152, 153.
Shema Yisrael.
You may be seated, and we turn to the words of Deuteronomy, page 154, V'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננת לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, ובשרתם מאוד אייתך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 155, let's read an interpretive version of the V'ahavta together. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gates. They are reminders to do all my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Let's rise for the Amidah, the standing prayer, page 164. Those who are able. And we're going to continue with our private prayers through page 180. Take time for the Hebrew, English, or just the prayers of your heart. And whenever you're ready, you may be seated. We'll continue on page 180 with Oseh Shalom, prayer for peace.
Shalom B'Ramah, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'Yarko Yisrael, V'Himru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Yaakov Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yaakov Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yaakov Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yaakov Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yaakov Yisrael. And that's directly from Israel too.
I
Think
could
back
see
in the
that.
1960s or 70s, it won at the Hasidic festival. It was a song winner. And then it became an instant viral success in Israel, then in the whole world.
So Moses wasn't singing that?
No,
I don't
Moses
believe
was
you.
not singing that.
That's probably, whenever I sing that, wherever I go, that's probably the most familiar Jewish song, I would say. Of all the melodies that are taught in the Jewish world, that's the one I can see, I can look around the room, and the majority of the people know that one.
And Diana.
Diana too, yeah, that's true. Who doesn't know Diana? Okay, that's a Passover melody. We're going to do our prayer for healing, and the prayer is on page 371. We're going to turn our attention to Richard Zyback, Dennis Epstein, Murray Edinger, Carol Fisher, Sue Frank, Ida Frost, Maureen Furlong, Sam Golden, Freda Goodstein, Dick and Kathy Gordon, Esther Green, Heather Houston, Miles Levy, Savannah Lucas, Rick Muller, Megan McEvoy, Jill Shire Monahan, Robert Posis, Aidan Raccoon, Maddie Rinzenberg, Karen Rosenfeld, Shel Rossi, Brandon Ryan, Jill Terabasi, Robin Weinstein, Mike Wheeler, Yocheved Bat Esther, Miriam Bat Razel, Avraham ben Bat Rivka, Chana Ezra ben Shul, and Ruvain ben Morris. Before I go around, I just want to say a word about one person here, Esther Green. I want to say a word. She's in hospice right now, and she's preparing to die. She's 98 years old. And we put her name on here. She's fully ready. She's been in hospice preparing for almost 2 months at this point. But the prayer for healing, and I'm saying this educationally because a lot of people ask me this over the years, that I believe the prayer of healing could be for someone to help them to die too, that could be part of it if that person is ready in that moment, that healing doesn't always mean the same thing. And I do send a lot of prayers to Esther. She's waiting it out. And sometimes our bodies are, we're in God's hands. So I told her she was just too strong in her life. She did a lot of walking. So we'll go around, and if you have other names that you'd like to mention, just raise your hand. Yes, Diane, you put it.
Michelle Schaefer. Burkhardt and Pochelka. Lisa Steinfeld.
Grace Vogel.
Donna Watson. Josh Jones. Mark Rutherford.
We'll bring all those names into our hearts again, page 371.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebe'ach imotenu, Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
A complete healing of body and soul. May our prayers go to where they're needed, and may those people feel comforted. I'm going to come down here to you guys. Shabbat Shalom. So, by show of hands, how many here have been to Israel before? Look at that. All right, put your hands down. How many of you have been to Israel in the last 5 years? You're the only ones who've actually been to Israel. That was a joke that Rabbi Perry Netter over at Beth Tzedek used to tell me, because of how much Israel changes all the time. It's hard to believe that Israel turned 75 years old this past Tuesday night and Wednesday. How many of you remember a time before Israel, before there was a state of Israel? You were probably just a baby then, right? 6 years old. So you actually remember that, Harvey? Mm-hmm. You remember? Mm-hmm.
I was there in 75 and 79.
Ruth saying that she was in Israel in 75 and 79. Israel is something that's very close, near and dear to our hearts here in our American Jewish community. Almost every synagogue in the country, and maybe in the world, has an Israeli flag. And you'll see that. And we have, of course, in our prayer book, it's filled with Israel is mentioned many, many, many times. And it's really kind of in essence of who we are. When I think about Israel, I wanted to take some time to reflect on where are we 75 years in. 75 years is a lot, but it's a little. It's a lot in the sense that it wasn't yesterday, but it's a little in the sense that it happened within the grasp of our lifetimes. Whether we personally were alive then, we know people that were alive then. And that's kind of incredible when we think about it. I don't think any of you know anyone that was alive when on July 4th, 1776, right? Yeah. So that's a little bit further away. When I think about that journey, I think about the very first time that I was in Israel. I was 15 years old, maybe a little bit older than you guys, maybe a year or two older than you guys. And I was on a program through my high school. The year was 1989, and I guess we went in late August, early September that year. And when we arrived in Israel, we didn't arrive in the current state-of-the-art airport, which if you've been to Israel now, it's a magnificent airport. We arrived in a little, podunk airport that you had to actually, that when the plane landed, you had to walk from the plane into the airport itself. There was a separation. It wasn't really big enough for that. The country was so small that when in Jerusalem, those of you that have been there more recently, there was one main street, which is Ben Yehuda Street, right? that was where all the shops were, and there was nothing else. Today you can go around and you can see things all over Jerusalem. There's an outdoor mall, indoor-outdoor mall. There's festivities and restaurants everywhere you go. Tel Aviv, there was only one street, Dizengoff Street, with Dizengoff, the original mayor of Tel Aviv. And I remember as a 15-year-old, I was so excited because they had a Wendy's, a kosher Wendy's. Because we were staying in Jerusalem. I was there for 4.5 months, and we went over and we had Wendy's. The trains, they had train system that was built by the British to get from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. How long it's about a 50-minute to an hour drive. How long do you think the train ride was? Yeah, 3 to 4 hours, yeah. Picture today, actually, if you take Amtrak. I know from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, which is a 4-hour trip, it takes 9 hours. It's a little like that. And now when you go, if you took a train ride, they just built a high-speed train from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. It just opened. I've never ridden on it. 36 minutes. Isn't that crazy? It's faster than driving. Not only that, but there is a train system that will take you from Haifa all the way to Beersheba. And I've been on it. It's wonderful. That was never possible before. To see the transformation that it's gone on to what it is today is really been incredible. As we think back, the largest problems that we had, security, obviously, and security, bitachon, is still a central issue in Israel, as we know. But part of the security were the neighbors around Israel. And at this point, we have peace agreements with the majority of neighbors, and that's growing. We just joined the UAE, and it's very likely Saudi Arabia and other groups other countries in the Middle East will also be part of peace accords, and that's really incredible. I wanted you to think about the picture of Israel, because this is, in my head, when I think about Israel as a picture, it's the picture that I drew growing up, which is kind of like the top of it at the Golan Heights. You have the Mediterranean coast, comes along the Sinai, the Negev, and then up kind of the Jordan River, right? And it's one complete picture. That geography of Israel only existed as Israel from March 26 of 1979 to September 13th, 1993. That Israel has been many different shapes between that. Whenever I see a map of Israel, because we have that so ingrained in us, you have to say, when is this from? You have the original partition plan and the Israel till 1967. You have 1967 through 1979, where you have the entire Sinai. And then you have after Oslo, where you have the West Bank in the middle and lots of subdivisions. And then, of course, Gaza is in there as well. So it's quite amazing. So we had that problem security-wise, bitachon, and at least among our neighbors, a lot of change. Water. There was an immense water crisis until the early 2000s. So much so we had no idea what we're going to do. There's even though Israel, population-wise, is a small country, if you include all the citizens in Palestine and Israel, there's some 16 million people that live in a very small region. How are we going to get water? There's only really the Mediterranean. You have Lake Tiberias. There's very few places that you can't water. They built salination plants and they recycled water. Water is no longer a problem in Israel, which is incredible. Israel, of course, in the world, it's not just the symbolism of the only Jewish state in the world, it also is a technological leader. Many of you know, and many of you possess things or even work with things that were created in Israel. I read in Wikipedia, I think it said there are, is it 6,000 startups? It's crazy. Waze is probably the most famous app that was created there. But if you Google Israeli inventions under Wikipedia, it's amazing all the different things that were developed there. It's outside of Silicon Valley, it is the number one technology bed really in the world. And this extends far wide. When you go, it's not just that there's not just Ben Yehuda and Dizengoff Street, it's that everything is so built up. There's so many big businesses and just amazing state-of-the-art things when you go there, things that no one were not there in 1989, and no one would have had thought possible, certainly not in the 70s. As we think of where we are 75 years, we have the roots of a tree. We are built, we're strong, there's a sense of security. But there's still challenges, of course, just like we have in America almost 250 years into our journey here. And some of those fissures started at the beginning, the majority started at the beginning of the state. Of course, we have the Arab Palestinian-Israeli conflict, which is still very bad. We have a border wall that I got to witness just a couple months ago, and it's not. There is no way to move forward easily. You get a feeling that things are stuck. There are wonderful people doing projects on the ground, grassroots, to try to unstick it, but there is no easy way. I think the most important challenge that we face in our 75th year in Israel, though, is internal, not between Arabs and Israeli Jews, but really between the Jewish population. This is the trickiest thing going forward. When Israel was formed, it was a compromise. But believe it or not, Jews didn't get along. They had to sit when Ben-Gurion on May 14th, 1948, stood bravely and announced to the world in Independence Hall and Dizengoff in Tel Aviv, announced to the world that there would be a state of Israel. This was the product of a fierce negotiation between all the different factions. There were the socialists and the capitalists and the Zionists and the anti-Zionists and the Orthodox and the liberals and the seculars and the kibbutzniks. All of them had a completely different vision of what Israel should be. But they knew at this moment of time, we're going to sit down and we're going to sign an agreement. Part of that agreement was to hand over all ritual law to the Orthodox. And that was partially because the liberals, or the seculars that controlled Israel, they thought the Nazis basically wiped out Orthodoxy. 90% of Orthodoxy was destroyed by the Nazis. So they didn't actually believe that it would continue. What's happened in the years since is that 30 to 35% of the state of Israel today is Orthodox, and 12 to 15% is ultra-Orthodox. So we are moving. I know right now we have the most right-wing government in our country's history, the most nationalist-oriented government as well. And it's very scary, but for me, this is really the tip of the iceberg. What we have to face is, as that, especially the ultra-Orthodox population keeps growing, because the rate of kids is over 5 to 6 children per woman, and the rate of this for secular is less than 2. So the growth is very, very different for the two different populations. What does it mean if this was a religious state? What would it mean if Israel is not what we see today, this compromise between all these different factions? What if one group becomes in control? This is unknown. Every country, every place faces unknown. I think we should feel very good about where Israel is right now. We should go and visit. It is the most meaningful activity. In 1991 population study, they realized that the way to get kids back to Judaism was to send them to Israel. That's how birthright. It's the strongest marker for Jewish identity is a trip to Israel. It's I think coming to 75 years, and I've lived or been in Israel in the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010s, and 2020s now. It feels like it's here. It's a place. When I first arrived in 1989, we were a long way off. The last thing I'll say is the other challenge that we face is us, American Jews. How do we fit into Israel? What is our relationship? And that's not defined right now. We have arguments within the Jewish community, if you've heard of them, we're trying to figure out. Of course, we don't want apathy, anger, joy. Where are we in this? I think part of it is Israel coming into its own has meant that they don't need American Jews as much. So it's kind of figuring out where is our relationship. Where this will lead, we'll see. We'll get together in 25 years and we can talk it out, all right? Cantor and Nick have prepared the central song from 1967, right? Jerusalem of Gold.
Yes. So that could be found on page 660. And if you follow the emails for Cantor's Picks that comes out each week, I wrote an article about this particular song, about the poet Naomi Shemer, who composed this song and wrote the lyrics, as well as the singer who originally recorded it. And I was in Israel. This was composed in 1967, just a few weeks before the 67 war, the 6-day war, and it became very, very emotional because it was about Jerusalem, and it was sung in the streets and all over Israel and became a very important song. And I was there in 1969. Yeah. And all of Israel then was a small town or a village. All of Israel, even when we got to Jerusalem, it was still a small town.
It's like Buffalo. Should we have everyone rise? What do you think?
Well, we're going to rise again for Hatikva,
Okay,
so would you like to rise for both?
No, we'll do Hatikva.
All right, then. We're going to do the, and this page 660 doesn't have all of the verses here, but we will be doing the first verse and all the way down the last verse on this, and the English translation is on the left-hand side. Avir harim sadur kayayin reach orani nisam berua ha'arbayim im kol pa'amonim uvtanim atilan va'even shvuya b'chaloma ha'ir אשר בדן יושבת ובליבה חומה ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת בארות המים, לשוק ולכיכר. שופר קורא בהר הבית, בעיר העתיקה. ובמרות אשר בסלע, אלפי שמשות צורחות. ושוב נרד אל ים המלח בדרך יריחו. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושרור, עלו לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושרור, עלו לכל שירייך אני
I'd like to invite up Naomi. She's going to help us open our ark. And we're going to turn to page 586 for Aleinu. It's not enough for us to pray. We need to go out and do good deeds in this world.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהר, וגומרנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 591.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ויאמרו יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
You may be seated. We're going to turn to our mourner's Kaddish. And we are remembering Annette, it's page 598, Annette Marie Rosenberg, who passed this last week. Wonderful teacher, and just her family sang her praises. Wonderful human being. We're also remembering Benny Berger, Marlene Joseph, Aaron Munter, Diana Robinson, and Stephen Silver, who passed in the last month. On our yard site list, we remember Sally Burkow, Ann Bonus, Iris Bush, Ann M. Cohen, Walter S. Collin, Betsy DeBruin, John Feder, Jack Felstein, Sandra Friedferdig, Helene Frost, Gary Gefter, Joseph Gewurtzman, Ida Greenfield, Charles Kaufman, Keith H. Kaufman, Susanna Kester, Henry Kitt, Gino Klein, Solomon Lieberman, Charles Lefcourt, Bessie Lesses, Lois Levenberg, Eva Levinson, Lois Logvin, Henry Martz, Samuel Myers, Annette Ostroff, Sylvia Perlitz, Henry S. Pesser, Charles Rakes, Aaron Rezikoff, Joyce P. Robinson, Julius Shepard, Philip Shapiro, Jacob Simon, Arthur Simons, Nancy Wool, Charlotte Wolpin, Leo Wolpin, and Irving Wonder. If there's other names that you'd like, just raise your hand.
Marvin Frankel.
All those whose custom it is to rise, please rise. Again, the prayer is on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yalma divrach urete v'yamlik malchute v'chayachon v'yamachon v'chayed echol beit Yisrael v'agalav v'ismaim kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach leolam olmei almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudasha b'rechu le'la min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'yimru amav. Huya says shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imra amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world. And we say amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. Zikranam levracha. May their memories be for a blessing. I'm going to invite Bruce Kors again for the announcements.
Is there a reason you turned the microphone away from me?
Well, I realized I had one up here.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom again, everyone. Happy 75th birthday, Israel. Rabbi neglected to mention a couple of things. I mean, Israel, all these things that were invented there. Something that many of us use virtually every day, a flash drive, was invented in Israel. So was the game Rummikub. And the most important of all, the soda stream was invented in Israel. Just a few of the things that were invented there. Welcome, Reverend Chad Kyler, not Rabbi. He's the rabbi, Reverend Chad Kyler, and the confirmation class from St. Paul's Lutheran Church. We're so glad you could be with us tonight and share Shabbat and Israel's anniversary. Thank you, of course, to the rabbi and the cantor and Nick Stelter for a lovely service tonight in honor of Shabbat and Yom Ha'atzmaut. Thank you to Sheila Bernard Tucker, our greeter this evening. I have a bone to pick with you, lady. Last week, between the singers and the band, you had all of our greeters. You had all of our greeters up on. I had to greet last week. We were down to the scraping of the bottom of the barrel. Anyway, so thank you to Sheila, who is one of our regulars. Tomorrow morning, we have Torah study at 9 a.m. via Zoom. Shabbat morning service, Kiddush luncheon will be at 10:45 at Temple Beth Tzedek. Community Religious School Sunday morning is actually at the JCC Benderson building this week. It's out of Temple on the road, as they say. Also Sunday morning, we have the men's group, and we have our speaker series. And the guest speaker, this is really cool, is Kathleen Shavetta from Shavetta's Chick. Have you ever met a Shavetta? You're going to meet a Shavetta if you come here, son.
I married one.
You married a Shavetta?
Yeah, but they were really an IRS agent, but they were part of the family.
Well, that's cool. That's Sunday at 9:30. No, we're not serving Shavetta's chicken Sunday morning at 9:30. That's a bit early in the day, but I believe Dan will be serving his famous Bagels and Lox men's group breakfast. Also with the men's group, there's going to be poker is returning. Wednesday night, that's at 7 o'clock here in the building. We're going to have snacks and fun. It's low stakes. It's a lot of fun. If you play badly, if you're a terrible poker player, come. Please come. We could use you. That's if you want to find out more about it, contact Dan. Chair yoga is going to be offered here at Shir Shalom. This is a group fitness class. This is Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m., along with Circuit at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. The classes are with our friends from North Presbyterian Church. There are some flyers outside the sanctuary if you're interested. Oh, speaking of Shavettas, our next one is a week from Tuesday. It is Tuesday, May 9th. You know the drill. Pre-order on the website. You save $1. You will also be guaranteed of getting one. Thank you, as always, to our Shavettas crew. A lot of people volunteer for that, and it's such an important fundraiser for the temple. And thank you, of course, to those of you who support it, who come drive through every time we have it. Admit it, when you saw the rain today, you're thinking, oh, we should be having a Shabbat today. The weather is terrible. Hopefully by May 9th, we'll have some nice weather. All this month, well, this month is ending like Sunday. So for the last 2 days of April, the Tikkun Olam Committee is collecting food and personal item donations for the Amherst Little Free Pantry. That's a project of the Unitarian Universalist Church and Havurah. Although, can we keep the bins past April 30th? Okay, it was a month-long project, but let's keep the bins for a little bit longer.
Yes, they'll be collecting for other pantries. It's just this month it's that.
Oh, this month it's for that.
So the bins will be there.
Oh, so it's not a one month and done thing.
So when are they picking up for the little pantry? Can we still bring anything in?
Yes, you can still bring things in. There's no date set yet for when they'll pick it up. So we can, if
Okay.
you want to contribute to that pantry, there's still time,
Excellent.
like another week.
Perfect.
It's just been a
And
little
then-
slow on the ramp up.
And then we'll collect for other organizations as well?
Yes.
Perfect. Tikkun Olam will be ongoing, which is important. That's one of the important things that we do. Speaking of doing important things, thank you to everyone who volunteered and participated in the Earth Day celebrations here at our place Friday night and Saturday down at TBZ. We have a big event coming up on May 16th. It's our annual congregational meeting. We are going to be honoring this year's President's Award recipients, plural. You're going to want to be here for that. Quick question. Who likes to save money on their car insurance? Who wants to be a better driver? Who wants to save money on their car insurance, be a better driver, and support Congregation Share Shalom? The kids do. Look at that. You just want to drive. That's what you wanted. I was your age once. I know what it's like to want to drive. Anyway, the defensive driving class is back. Quick show of hands. How many people here have actually taken the class? It's like more than half of the people in this room. This is great. So it's back. It's Saturday, June 3rd. It will be here in the building. It starts at 9:30 that morning. If you want to know more about it, talk to me afterward. We'll be taking reservations up until, well, just before then, or unless the class gets filled. By law, I'm limited to 40 people for that class. So if you took it, well, 3 years ago, we didn't have it because of COVID. So that would have been the year that some of you had to suffer through the online one, which is awful. So those of you that suffered through the online class in 2017, you're due, or 2020, I should say, you're due this year. If you've never taken it, what are you thinking? It's easy. It's, 5-6 hours, no more than 5 hours usually. And you save, probably the average person saves about $100 a year on their car insurance, and it is for 3 years. Again, coming up Saturday, June 3rd. Back by popular demand. If you want to know about other stuff that's coming up, it's in the service leaflet. Please take it home with you. Karen?
You may want to talk about Yom HaTzmaut at the Jewish Center, or it's either Camp Center.
Well, that's why the religious school is meeting, I believe, at the JCC. There's a community event as well?
Yeah, at 11:30 to 2.
11:30, thank you.
By 2:30, I think it's got to be indoors because I think it's going to rain.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be at the Camp Center grounds. I think it's going to be in the building.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's Sunday as well. Yom HaTzmaut. Joe?
This is the last week that I will want you to add something.
Sure. No, it's not.
Well, for a while. May 12th is the women's service.
Yes.
I am trying to finalize the outline this week, so if there are any members of Women Who Share Shalom here who want a reading and didn't get one yet, let me know.
That is, Jill is talking about the Women of Shir Shalom. For those of you on the stream, the Women of Shir Shalom service, Shabbat, which is a beautiful service we do every year. It's Friday, May 12th, and she's still finalizing the rundown. So if you're a member of Women of Shir Shalom and you haven't yet gotten a part in the service, contact Jill. It's one of the nicest services we do every year, particularly because he doesn't do anything in it. He just watches. If you need anything at all, contact Joanne, Todd, Cantor, Rabbi, or myself. We're here for you. Please enjoy the oneg after the service. If you'd like to sponsor an oneg for a special event or for no reason whatsoever, please talk to Joanne. We're more than happy to do that. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you as always for being part of our wonderful, really amazing Shir Shalom family.
welcome home. We're going to turn to page 678, Hatikva, and invite you to rise, and we'll face the Israeli flag over here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. As you came in peace, may you leave in peace. Please return your prayer books, your Sidurim, minus the leaflet to the front of the room. Shabbat shalom.